Hi guys, welcome to the Daily Draft, where we take Magic one draft at a time. My name is Morgan, and I will be your host for this adventure, I suppose. To start out with, we have a pretty, I'd say decent pack. None of these cards really stand out to me as being cards that I really enjoy playing. I've never played with the Bludgeon Rager, which makes me want to take it. I've played with illusory gains and against illusory gains, and at sometimes it's very strong, and at sometimes it's so-so. I could also see myself taking either the Circle of Elders or Airy Bowmasters, and going green, which is a color that I found to be very enjoyable, but I think I'm going to take this Bloodchain Rager. The ability is very relevant. There are a couple of creatures that kind of surprise you as being warriors. For example, Hand of Silumgar. Um, yeah. Here, I'm going to take the Sabertooth Outrider. It's a warrior, so that could be a reason to do it. In addition, it's just the best red common in the set. We didn't pass any red going into this pack, so I feel pretty comfortable taking it. I like Belltoll Dragon, but the way I see this draft going is a little bit more aggressive, so Sabertooth Outrider is a better pick early on. If I knew that I was going to be playing a later game, I would favor Belltoll Dragon over Sabertooth Outrider. In addition, Bludgeon Raider seems better for the blue-red plan, although it certainly could just be a bear in a blue-black deck. I'm not super interested in any of the other creatures here. Silumgar Butcher is fine, if a little bit of an expensive rate for what it does. But Sabertooth Outrider is also in red, which is one of the better colors in the format. Here, I'm going to back up my Sabertooth Outrider pick by taking Twin Bolt. I'm not necessarily black yet, but we are seeing a lot of very good black. There's also an Edutaining Summons, which, if the person on our left is drafting blue, we'll be very happy. Twin Bolt is a premier removal spell, and having early removal spells to support your your aggressive creatures is very important in this format. Not taking the Edutaining Summons because, in my experience, it's much better to stay on color in this format as opposed to switching around a lot once you have started something. Makes it a lot easier in the future. Oh my goodness, there's so much blue though. Sprinting Warroot's in this pack though, and Sprinting Warroot is very good, so I'm going to take that as opposed to the Silumgar Sorcerer or the Edutaining Summons. Had we picked up the Illusory Gains, we would be very happy with this pack. Edutai's Command, while being a rare, is not great. There are not a lot of 2-drops you would want to return. Gaining 4 life is not something that I'm super interested in just on its own. Counter target creature spell is less important in draft than it is in constructed, and drawing a card is kind of a tack on ability. Silumgar Sorcerer, very good body, and to have a counter spell tacked onto it, even if it requires you to sacrifice a creature, still a good rate. I'm pretty happy with continuing to take red cards though, because I consider Sprinting Warroot to be a good card, and getting it this late is highly encouraging to me. I'm going to take the Call Simsa Behemoth here. It's incredibly difficult to kill with the damage-based removal, and it's incredibly difficult to block with favorably early in the game, so it makes it a very good aggressive creature regardless of the the tax on attacking. I do like Voltress Haven having a decent body for that rate is good. The exploit is a nice bonus, but I'd rather her stay red. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm going to be black, and take the behemoth. Here I'm going to be taking the Sandcrafter Mage. Sandcrafter Mage is the best creature in this pack, and I tend to favor taking creatures over spells early on in pack 1, whereas later I might try and pick up a Center Soul, or, well, not Center Soul, because Sandcrafter Mage is better than Center Soul, and I prefer to pick up lower end cards as opposed to cards that might end up being more powerful but are more expensive. I'm going to take the white over the green because I consider Sandcrafter Mage to be a very good card. So if white is open, I would like to hopefully take advantage of that. Here, their option is between a Territorial Rock, Battle Mastery, and Artful Maneuver. Battle Mastery, I feel like I'm not giving Battle Mastery enough of a chance. It's definitely the double strike ability on creatures, especially really aggressively sized and costed creatures, should be very good. However, I'm not sold on it. I'm going to take the Artful Maneuver over the Territorial Rock. Territorial Rock isn't the aggressive creature that this deck is looking for, but Artful Maneuver is definitely worthwhile as a combat trick. Here, I'm going to take the Lightwalker over the Enduring Victory. Lightwalker is the aggressively costed creature that this deck is looking for. Enduring Victory is a fine card, but I am not very interested in picking up 5-drops yet. I'd rather have more creatures. And while we're certainly not dedicated to switching to white, taking this Lightwalker is fine. Right at this point, I am sort of ignoring the cards in, oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna hate draft as illusory gains, I guess. In other colors. Or, you know what, I'm gonna take the Airy Bowmasters here over the illusory gains. Yeah, I think Airy Bowmasters is a better card, and a card that I personally am more likely to play. Like I said, not completely dedicated to white, just picking up some cards when our red is dried up. So, happy to take that. Here, I think I'd rather have the Surge of Righteousness over the Champion of Erishin. Surge of Righteousness is a very strong card. The Color Hoser sideboard cards are all very strong. Champion of Erishin is fine, but I definitely will have an opportunity to pick up more, so I'd rather have the premium removal card. Here, I guess I take the Tomb Shell. Like, this card is the one that's most likely to brick wall my creatures. I'm going to take the Student of Ojai here over the Colossedon Yearling, because Colossedon Yearling is something that I feel I'm less likely to play, and is more replaceable. Student of Ojai has a very strong effect late game. Here I'm going to take the Fate Forgotten over the Mind Rot. Sideboard cards, even in a color that I'm not quite sure I'm playing, are still very reasonable. Mind Rot is kind of a replaceable effect, especially when you get Tygams, something, or Tassiger's Cruelty in the next pack. Okay, so here we have a couple of options. I could take Dromoko's Command, which I'm actually gonna look up the price. One thing that you should know as a drafter who may or may not be on a budget, price is certainly a consideration. This is actually a super deep pack for us. Dromoko's Command. $4. I think that's worth taking, especially in a color that we could be in. There's also Twin Bolts, or Sabertooth Outrider, Twin Bolt, and Mischief Kieran here. I'm more likely to take the Twin Bolt over the Sabertooth Outrider. Actually, this card is just so good. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Dromoka's Command. Um, Taking removal and burn spells is super important though, which is why I'm taking the Sarkhan's Rage over the Dragon Hunter. Dragon Hunter is a fine card. Having 1-drops is pretty nice if you end up in the bolster deck, but Sarkhan's Rage it can just kill out of nowhere. There's also a Kolgan Aspirant that'd be fine taking, and if Swift Warkite wheels, I'd consider moving back to black. Here, I'm going to take the Atarka's Ifrit over the Great Teacher's Decree. I like the size on Atarka's Ifrit, and it's very good if we get things such as Temur Battle Rage in the last pack, as well as being just able to be cast on turn 3 and on turn 4 get in for 6-7 damage. Hand of Silumgar is a quality black card, but I'm fine taking the Atarka Ifrit. Here I'm also taking a I'm also passing a Summit Prowler, but if it wheels, I'd consider taking it. Great Teacher's Decree is fine. That's all I really have to say about this. Here, Pacifism. I'm happy to take Pacifism. It looks like we would have been really well set up no matter what colors we went into. Like, if we decided to be more green, we would definitely get some good stuff there. But right now it looks like we're closer to red-white, although I'd consider splashing this Dromoka's Command. If we wanted to be more green, then we could certainly do that. Or, I guess, white. This is the only other option, but Shambling Goblin's certainly an option to pick up in black. Okay, so here I have the option between a Champion Variation and a Dragon Fodder. Currently, I only have one 2-drop creature, so I'm more inclined to take the Dragon Fodder over the Champion Variation. Champion Variation, like I said, is fine. There's also an Enduring Victory here. Actually, I think I'd rather have the Enduring Victory over the Dragon Fodder. Like I said, I'm pretty much ignoring everything else in this pack. And the reason for that is, once you've committed to a color, you're generally better off staying in that color, even if the cards are weaker. And here, I think the strongest creature is Segmented Crotic, but it's not enough to make me seriously regret my decisions. This Ojutai Summons, however, is, and I'm going to take the Summon Soul, I think, the Center Soul, but oh my goodness, Ojutai Summon's going that late. I really should be in blue. But Center Soul is a fine card. Taking Ojutai's Summons really won't do anything for me at this point in the draft, whereas Center Soul could definitely protect, oh my goodness, Sabertooth Outrider and Aven Sunstriker. I think I'd rather have an Aven Sunstriker. Flyers are extremely important. Sabertooth Outrider is very good though, and hopefully that other one wheels. Dromoka Dunecaster here is something worth mentioning, because that card is actually pretty reasonable in an aggressive deck like this. Here, I think I'd rather have another low drop, and because the different Tarka Palmer is pretty strong. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Tarka Palmer actually. It is another 5-drop, and we're kind of getting up there on 5-drops, although Sprinting Warbird doesn't really count. A Tarka Pummeler is fine. A Tarka Pummeler is very good. It's got a solid body for the rate. In addition, it basically makes half your creatures unblockable. Here, between the Dromoka Warrior and the Rending Volley, I think I'd rather have the Rending Volley. Dromoka Warrior is a 3-1 for 2, which is a good rate again, but Rending Volley is just such a strong sideboard card. Like, I've even seen people play it main. because just the ability to kill most white or blue creatures in the format is very, very good. Here, I'm going to take the Vial of Dragonfire over the Dragon's Eye Sentry. Dragon Eye Sentry is okay, but I'd rather have the option of siding in more removal. Great Teacher's Decree wield, which makes me feel like in the next pack I need to pick up more creatures, and makes me wish that the Dragon Fodder had wheeled. That'd be pretty nice. But there's still some opportunities for me to grab some creatures, so that'll be good. Glaring Aegis is not something that I plan on playing, but it's certainly a playable card. It's not exciting, however. Alright. So what we're looking for in pack 3 is Goblin Heel Cutter. I think that's the big one. Citadel Siege is also acceptable. Windswept Heath, if it wheels, would be amazing. Citadel Siege is just such a huge bomb. If that wasn't here, I'd consider taking the Windswept Heath to splash my Dromoka's command rather. But I'd probably end up taking the Bathe in Dragonfire, as removal is pretty important in an aggressive deck. There's also Temur Battle Rage, a Mardu War Reaper, that are very good in this deck. Dragon Bell Monk and Humble Defector are both cards that I'd easily play. But Citadel Siege is just the obvious best card in the pack, best card for my deck. A little disappointed that I don't have any Mischief Kirans, but Lightwalker should do some good work, as well as potentially Aven Sunstriker. Like, I could see a situation where we play Aven Sunstriker face up on turn 3 and just turn 4 cast Citadel Siege. Here, I'd like one of these low drops. I'm not quite sure which one I want. The warrior tribe, well, like, we have a lot of warriors, isn't irrelevant. I think it's more important to have a 1-drop here. Mardu Scout is certainly an option for the deck, but I'd rather have a 1-drop, especially one that I can cast pretty easily. Well, that dried up real fast. I guess I take the huge stone retainers. With as many like low drops as we have, there's a chance that we get to play it fairly consistently on turn 4. But I'm gonna put it over here for now. That's a super dry pack for us. Best card in the pack is probably Gurmag Angler, followed by Aven Surveyor, depending on what you're playing. Here, I like Abzan Sky Captain quite a bit. I also like Collateral Damage quite a bit in decks that just have a lot of dorky little creatures. We don't actually have a lot of dorky little creatures right now. So I'm gonna take the Abzan Sky Captain. Erishan Cleric is certainly an option on the wheel to play. Here, I'm gonna take the Dragon Bell Monk. Somebody's gonna be very happy about that Shamanic Revelation. The Smoldering Efreet is a 2/2 for 2, but it's not a 2/2 for 2 that I'd ever willingly play in this deck, I guess. Oh gosh, just the blue cards. Taking the Dragon Belt Monk here pretty easily. There's not a lot in this pack, and it's the lowest costed of all of the creatures that are available to me. Here, Sandstep Outcast is a huge pickup for us. It allows us to put 2 bodies on the battlefield, which is great for Great Teacher's Decree, and also for Citadel Siege, things like that. So yeah, I am extremely happy with that. We're picking up a couple more creatures, which is really nice. Hopefully they're all warriors. Warrior, warrior. This is the most warrior-centric deck that I've had that doesn't have, like, any warrior synergies. Like, this is completely on accident. Those are monks, but this is a warrior, this is a warrior, this is a warrior. So, fun story about my deck, I guess. You can see I'm kind of pulling the non uh, the non-played cards to the side. Those are the reason I'm doing that is because they're not necessarily on this curve. I could play this Artful Maneuver on turn 9 and be completely happy with it. There's nothing in this pack for me after getting the Sandstone Focus so late. Here, I think I'm going to take the Ruthless Instincts. No, actually, Jeskai Sage. Jeskai Sage gives my opponents the most value as a chump blocker. Here, I'll take another Dragon Bell Monk. Not as happy with it as I would be with anything else. Foil Tranquil Cove, because, again, nothing. Just, I'm so glad our deck is where it is right now. Here, I think I cut a Student of Ojutai. We still have 15 creatures, which is a decent amount. We have a low amount of 2-drops, but that does allow us to make these kind of 2-drops as well. Not pacifism though, that's a waste of a pacifism. Alright. I would take a Smoldering Efreet and play it at this point. Aeration Cleric counts too. Warflare is another, like, great Teacher's Decree pump effect, but it is definitely not nearly as good as another 2-drop in this deck. The life gain is negligible, but it fills out our curve nicely. I'm gonna sideboard one of the Dragon Bell Monks. We have a lot of 3s, and I certainly prefer to have another 2-drop as opposed to a 3rd Dragon Bell Monk. I'm gonna take the Shamanic Revelation. Apparently nobody's playing green. So, that's definitely a route that we could have gone. It makes me feel a lot better about passing some of the better green cards that we did. As you can see, I've kind of been building this deck as we go. This is definitely a good sign. I find that whenever I have to spend a great deal of time building decks, I'm going to take the Grim Contest here. It's the best card to hate because it's a removal spell. I find that if I have to spend a lot of time with my deck after the draft, it means that something has gone terribly wrong or incredibly right, but it's more frequently terribly wrong. Like I'm missing playables, or I switch colors too late, or I'm trying to work in like a Dramoka's command, something like that. I'm fairly happy with this draft though. I think it is a reasonable power level. There were a couple of cards that did not wheel that I kind of hoped would. A couple more 1-drops, for example, or 2-drops, which makes me think that there's one person in red and probably another person in white, and there's a point where I realized that we probably could have been in blue, and I really like playing blue in this format, especially Ojutai summons blue. So hopefully I can show you that kind of deck later, but I still believe that we are better off with the deck that we have now as opposed to the deck that we could have had we switched into blue in pack 2, because we were able to get enough playables to kind of take out some clunkier cards, and that's the way I think the set should be drafted. There are certainly sets, for example, Modern Masters 2 is probably going to be one of those sets where you can certainly justify taking, like, a blue card here and a green card here, and this is a red-white card, but you know what? I picked up a bounce land early, so I can play that too. Like, that's not this format at all. As you can see, we don't even have any mana fixing to play the Stremoka's command, which I'm fine leaving in the sideboard. It was a very speculative pick, but it paid for a pack, so it did its job. Um, so I'm gonna add some basic lands here. I think I'm going to favor red or white, obviously, but not as heavily as the suggestion thing does. I could almost do a 9-8 split, but yeah, I think 10-7's fine. I prefer to err on the side of maybe drawing 2 to 3 mountains and 1 plains as opposed to drawing 5 plains and no mountains, because even though our red is a pretty small portion of our draft deck, it's fairly important. So you get like the really aggressive guys and the burn spells. So yeah, I will see you guys in round 1.